my new multi-pass. It gets me into all the fun places. Isn't it cool?
xAI will be dissolved as a separate company, so it will just be SpaceXAI, the AI dot products from SpaceX.
Tesla and xAI and SpaceX have all done amazing things that people did not think would be done before. So there's the Giga Texas fab here. There's the Optimus robot that's being built. There's a global supercharging network. There's really quite a lot. And it wasn't that long ago when people thought electric cars wouldn't amount to anything. And there were basically no electric cars for sale when Tesla started. And people said it was impossible, and now Tesla's making 2 million electric cars a year. And then xAI, although it's a new company, now part of SpaceX, has also built the first gigawatt-scale compute cluster, which in record time. Jensen Huang from NVIDIA said he'd never seen anything built so fast in his life before. So a great compliment from NVIDIA. And then SpaceX, well, I guess you can read it for yourself. Well, you already know. I mean, the reusable rockets, people said that reusable rockets weren't possible, and even if you did do them, they wouldn't be economically feasible. So we did them, and then we made them economically feasible. And now we've landed over 500 times.
I think that there's increasingly a convergence, actually, between SpaceX and Tesla and xAI. In order to harness a non-trivial amount of the energy of the sun, you have to move to solar-powered AI satellites in deep space, which somewhat is a confluence of Tesla expertise and SpaceX expertise, and xAI on the AI front. So it does feel like over time there's somewhat of a convergence.
I'm asked all the time if
I know.
Yes, and I'm like, look, I can show you, if I was aware of the slightest evidence of aliens, I would immediately post that on X.
Yeah. That's good.
And
so the question is,
it would be the most viewed post of all time.
Yeah. So I actually wonder about the U.S. public if they would oh, that's interesting, go back to their sports scores the next day.
Yeah. I think everyone would want to see the alien.
Yeah.
Like if you got one.
Well, like
here it is. Fast way to increase the military budget. We found an alien. It seems dangerous.
That's right. Unify the world.
They don't have an incentive to hide the aliens. They have an incentive to show the alien. Yeah. Because they would not have any more arguments about the military budget if they seem a little bit dangerous.
Well, I can always hope. I can always hope.
I mean, we've got 9,000 satellites up there. We've never had to maneuver around an alien spaceship. Yet. So if you punish people too much for failure, then they will respond accordingly, and the innovation you will get will be very incrementalist. Nobody's going to try anything bold for fear of getting fired or being, punished in some way. So there must be the risk reward must be balanced, and favor taking bold moves. Otherwise, it will not happen.
The rocketry business for decades,
yeah,
who say about you that you don't know what you don't know.
Well, I suppose that's true of anyone. How can anyone know what they don't know?
But when critics say you can't do this, your answer to them is,
we've done it.
He's done it in partnership with NASA, which has given SpaceX technical advice and a contract worth up to $1.6 billion, mostly for 12 cargo flights to the space station. But SpaceX's lack of experience bothers some NASA legends like Apollo astronauts Neil Armstrong and Gene Cernan. They've testified to Congress that the Obama administration's drive to commercialize space could compromise safety and eventually cost the taxpayers.
Now is the time to overrule this administration's pledge to mediocrity.
There are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight in the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that, because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough. I wish they would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here. And I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
and to see them casting stones in your direction?
It's difficult.
Did you expect them to cheer you on?
Certainly hoping they would.
What are you trying to prove to them?
What I'm trying to do is to make a significant difference in spaceflight and help make spaceflight accessible to almost anyone. And I would hope for as much support in that direction as we can receive. Offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
So you just don't care. You want to share what you have to say.
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
Okay.
No, wow. Okay. No,
You don't do the headphone thing?
no.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, how close do I need to get this thing?
The closer you are, the sexier you sound.
Hey, babe.
Yep.
What's up? Can't get enough of your love, baby.
I'm going to clip that out. Anytime somebody messages me about it,
If you want my body and you think I'm sexy, come right out and tell me so. do.
So good. Okay, so serious mode activate. All right.
Serious mode. Come on, you're Russian. You can be serious.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone's serious all the time in Russia.
Yeah. Yeah. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
It's gotten soft.
I mean, I think we've got an incredible team, and we're making great progress here. We're trying to achieve the holy grail of rocketry, which is a fully and rapidly reusable rocket. No one has ever made a fully reusable orbital rocket, and never one that could be rapidly reflown like an aircraft. And that is actually the essential sort of invention, if you will, that is necessary to make humanity a multi-planet species. Create a maximally truth-seeking AI, which may sound obvious, but that's what I'm seeing being produced is not maximally truth-seeking. It tends to be trained to be politically correct, and for a lot of the AIs that are being trained in the San Francisco Bay Area, they have taken on the philosophy of the people around them, which kind of makes sense. So you have sort of a woke, nihilistic, in my opinion, philosophy that is being built into these AIs, and they're being taught to say crazy things in some cases that are very troubling. Like when Google Gemini came out, people asked whether it is which is worse, misgendering Caitlyn Jenner or global thermonuclear war, and it said misgendering Caitlyn Jenner, which is obviously a problem because we'd all die in global thermonuclear war. And so if you have an AI that's programmed for things like that, it could conclude that the best way to ensure that nobody is misgendered is to annihilate all humans, thus making the probability of a future misgendering zero. That's highly problematic. So you really want to have a maximally truth-seeking AI, and I can't emphasize that enough. That's incredibly important. And obviously build an AI that loves humanity, and I think these. So I'm a little concerned. That's why I created xAI, which is to have an AI that is maximally truth-seeking, that aspirationally does love humanity. Curious about the nature of the universe, and I want to go out there, and I want humanity to be out there exploring the stars, maybe meeting alien civilizations. Maybe in some cases we see the ruins of a long dead alien civilization, but they were very strong for 10 million years. The kind of stuff that you see in Star Trek, in a non-dystopian sci-fi book or movie or show. And so I'm just I have a philosophy of curiosity of like I just want to know what's going on, and in order to know what's going on, we must have an increase in the scope and scale of consciousness. We must expand as consciousness. We must grow humanity, and we must extend humanity.
in order to comprehend to understand the universe, or even what questions we should ask about the answer that is the universe. The fundamental good that Tesla does, I think, it's not measured by profit, but rather by how many years will Tesla have accelerated the transition to sustainable energy. This is how I think
this
one
is
should
your
look
measure
at
of success.
Yes, yeah. So I do want X to be a force for good, and I do view it as sort of like the group mind of humanity, and we want to have a sort of a healthy, happy, and sane group mind versus the opposite. I mean, or yeah. So I want it to be just like the best source of truth. Like if you're trying to understand what's going on in the world, that it has the most accurate, the most up-to-date information about anything large or small. So it gives you the best understanding of what's going on in the world, anywhere, anytime. On the moon to Mars, and build a self-sustaining city on Mars. I do think that that there is a fork in the road of human destiny where if we can establish a self-sustaining city on Mars, with the key test being if the resupply ships from Earth stop coming for any reason, does Mars continue to prosper or does it die out? At the point at which Mars is able to prosper and grow on its own, the probable lifespan of consciousness is dramatically greater because we are no longer dependent on everything going right on Earth. There's always some possibility of self-annihilation on Earth with World War III, or a super virus, or a meteor like that destroyed the dinosaurs. We know from the fossil record that there've been many mass extinction events. So the question that I sort of am always wondering about is, will the civilizational arc continue to ascend such that we can make Mars self-sustaining before the civilizational arc descends? Because the window of opportunity to make life multiplanetary exists now for the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth.
Yeah. Elon, let's assume that we get there and you're there. You'd be the elder statesman, you'd have the moral authority of Mars. How do you run Mars?
But there's this point that I think I want to just emphasize again, that it's more important than the form of governance on Mars or who's there in the early days. What really matters is that Mars is self-sustaining, that we are truly a multi-planet species, and such that we've achieved planetary redundancy. So that if something, and obviously we should do everything possible to make sure life on Earth is great, but there's always some risk of an annihilation event on Earth. Yeah. Like I said, self-annihilation or some natural disaster. And so the probable lifespan of consciousness increases dramatically as soon as we are a multi-planet species, with the key test being, can Mars survive if the resupply ships stop coming? So getting, like, the first missions to Mars are not that important. What matters is, can you get sufficient tonnage to Mars such that Mars can prosper on its own? And that means it has to have all of the ingredients of civilization. It's not just that you need to build, for example, a chip factory on Mars or chip fab on Mars, but you need the ability. I think it can be done in 30 years.
Wow.
So if provided there's an exponential increase in the tonnage to Mars with each successive Mars transfer window, which is every 2 years. So every 2 years the planets align and you can transfer to Mars. I think in roughly 15, but maybe as few as 10, but 10 to 15-ish Mars transfer windows, if you're seeing exponential increases in the tonnage to Mars with each Mars transfer window, then it should be possible to make Mars self-sustaining in about, call it roughly 25 years.
Amazing.
Wi-Fi router, you'll see this image. because the Starlink Wi-Fi is or Starlink Internet is what's being used to pay for humanity getting to Mars. So I'd just like to thank everyone out there who's bought Starlink, because you're helping secure the future of civilization and helping make life multiplanetary and helping make humanity a space-faring civilization. Thank you. This is the first new city made in America in, I think, quite a few decades. At least that's what I'm told. And very cool name. And it's named that because it is where we're going to develop the technology necessary to take humanity and civilization and life as we know it to another planet for the first time in the 4.5 billion year history of Earth. Well, there's a lot of things, I suppose, that I worry about, and some of these things will seem esoteric to people. The birth rate is very low in almost every country, and it's something, unless that changes, civilization will disappear. America had the lowest birth rate, I believe, ever. That was last year. Places like Korea, the birth rate is 1/3 replacement rate. So that means in 3 generations, Korea will be 3 or 4% of its current size. And nothing seems to be turning that around. Humanity is dying. And people, it's just not something we evolved to react to. And I worry generally about the strength of America. America is the central column that holds up all of Western civilization. So if you've got the temple of Western civilization, America is the central column. If that column fails, it's all over. You can't run off to New Zealand or some other place. It's over. So either we strengthen that column and make sure America is strong and will be strong for a long time, or that roof's coming down. I don't know what's going to happen in 10 years, but the rate at which AI is progressing, I think we might have AI that is smarter than any human by the end of this year, and I would say no later than next year. Wow. And then probably by 2030 or 2031, call it 5 years from now, AI will be smarter than all of humanity collectively. Just to ensure that anything that's within my control maximizes the good outcome for humanity. I think anything else would be short-sighted, because obviously I'm part of humanity, so I like humans. Pro-human. That's a daily occurrence.
Yes.
So, it does get me down at times. It makes me sad, but at some point you have to sort of say, look, the attacks are by people that actually don't know me. They're trying to generate clicks. So if you can sort of detach yourself somewhat emotionally, which is not easy, and say, okay, look, this is not actually, from someone that knows me, or is they're literally just writing to get, impressions and clicks. Then I guess it doesn't hurt as much. It's like it's not quite water off a duck's back. Although Neil Armstrong, Neil A, spelled backwards, is alien. Coincidence?
You believe we actually went to the moon, though?
Yes, we went to the moon a few times, actually, and played golf on the moon.
Okay.
We didn't just go to the moon. We actually got a little bored and started playing golf on the moon.
But why didn't the flag move? There's like that conspiracy
That was the
theory
jump the shark moment.
about the flag?
No, the playing golf on the moon.
Oh, okay.
They literally did.
No, I understand that.
Yeah. Whacked a golf ball on the moon.
There's no gravity though, right? So
there is gravity, 1/6.
If it wasn't gravity, you just float away.
Okay.
There's no atmosphere,
Okay, fair.
but there is 1/6 gravity.
There are three things that I think are important. Truth, curiosity, and beauty.
Mhm.
And if AI cares about those three things, it will care about us.
On which part?
Truth will prevent AI from going insane.
Mhm.
Curiosity, I think, will foster any form of sentience, meaning like we're more interesting than a bunch of rocks.
Yeah.
So if it's curious, then I think it will foster humanity. And if it has a sense of beauty, it will be a great future.
I think that's, that's a great foundation.
Yeah, Jeffrey Hinton made a comment recently, I don't know if you saw it, that his hopeful future was that we would program maternal instincts into our AIs to see us as
maternal.
Yeah, in other words,
you haven't heard this? Yeah.
So he said
it's a little scary.
He said there's
I don't know.
there's a scenario where a very intelligent being succumbs to the needs of a less intelligent being, and that's the mother taking care of the child. Do you think that we might have a singularitarian, like an ASI that achieves dominance and suppresses others? And do you imagine that ASI could be a means to stabilize the world and humanity?
Darwin's observations about evolution will apply to AI, just as they apply to biological life.
They will compete with each other?
Yes.
Sometimes people are reduced to the dumbest thing they ever did. Like one time I smoked weed on Joe Rogan's podcast. And now all the time I hear Elon Musk, all he ever does is smoke weed on podcasts. Like I go from podcast to podcast, lighting up joints. It happened once.
I think we need to assume that life and consciousness is extremely rare, and it might only be us. And if that's the case, then we need to do everything possible to ensure that the light of consciousness is not extinguished, because we're effectively the way I view it is, the image in my mind is of a tiny candle in a vast darkness, a tiny candle of consciousness that could easily go out. And that's why it's important to make life multiplanetary, such that if there is a natural disaster or a man-made disaster on Earth, that consciousness continues. That's the purpose of SpaceX.